So there's two things I want to talk about today, and the first one's on my face. I've got glasses, and today's the first day I've worn them while teaching, and it's working. I can see the music better, and that was the reason I got them in the first place, because day to day I'm okay. I didn't really notice any difference, but I had noticed that not so much with my music, but with the music belonging to my student, that I was getting numbers mixed up. Like I was telling them to start from bar 26 when it should have been bar 28, and it was confusing. I was telling them, no, that's wrong, and they were like, no, it's not. So I finally figured out that I was blind, not able to see the difference between 6s and 8s from a little bit of a distance. So now I've got glasses and I look more intelligent, so yay, fooling people. But the main reason I wanted to do this video was to talk a little bit about how I explain the dangers of misunderstanding learning. And I'm not saying that I am the person who created this, or I'm the first person to talk about this in this way. I haven't heard someone else talking about it in this way, but I'm not claiming ownership. In essence, I want to talk about comfort zone, learning zone, and confusion as three separate places in your learning. So with a visual representation, I'll use my fist as a visual representation. Inside my fist is my comfort zone. Anything inside of here with regard to learning, but we're talking specifically about drumming here, I'm comfortable with. I can do it, and it's really unlikely I'm going to make mistakes. We're talking about maybe a 4/4 rock beat along to a song that you know really well and you've done it countless times. Now, you could equate that to something in school, like your ABCs. You know it, you're not going to make mistakes on it, you're not going to accidentally leave out a letter. When you're about 16 or 17 years old, they don't bring you into a school environment and try and teach you your ABCs. It's in your knowledge already. So practicing something inside of your comfort zone is the equivalent of doing your ABCs when you're 16. You don't learn anything because you can't learn something if you already know how to do it. And a lot of us are guilty of doing that we will practice what we know, and it's almost self-medicating, that we play it to make ourselves feel like better because we don't make mistakes. But you don't learn anything from doing your ABCs, and you won't learn anything from playing the stuff you already know. So where we want to be is outside of the comfort zone, and we all know that outside your comfort zone you're a little bit uncomfortable. You got to be okay with that. So I call it the learning zone. It's a lot more, I suppose, socially acceptable to call it the learning zone than to call it the uncomfortable zone. But it's very, very close to the comfort zone. The learning zone, you absolutely understand what you're doing. There's no confusion in your head as to what it is you plan to do or what your goal is. But you can't do it yet. Maybe you're not getting it right every time. Maybe it's frustrating because you know what you're supposed to do, but as you try to do it, you keep making the same mistake. That is the learning zone, because the definition, my definition of learning zone is completely understood, but not physically possible just yet. So I understand it, I have it in my head, but I can't play it. I don't have it in my hands yet. So that's a journey. It's a journey from understanding to ability, and what's in between understanding and ability is practice. So you've got to get it from your head to your hands with repetition, doing it over and over again, and there's going to be mistakes until they're not there anymore. So that's practice. In essence, playing your mistakes, finding them and fixing them. So another analogy I like to use is a mechanic. A good mechanic looks at a car, sees the problem, and feels good because they've done the job that they are supposed to do. They're able to find the problem. What we do as musicians and as drummers is we find the problem and we feel bad because we blame ourselves that the problem is there, which is ludicrous when you think about it. It's exactly like the mechanic finding what's wrong with the engine and being upset with themselves because there's something wrong with the engine. If we get upset when we find our mistakes, it's the equivalent of getting upset when you reach your goal. Your goal was to find a mistake in the first place. So, I'm not saying that you shouldn't get upset, because we all will. What I'm saying is you shouldn't allow that to continue happening. In that scenario, try and remind yourself that, hey, I'm practicing. Practicing is the art of finding and fixing mistakes. And if you don't find your mistakes, you can't fix them. So I guess my closing statement on this will be, don't beat yourself up too much. When you get annoyed, when you feel like you want to quit, maybe throw the sticks on the ground or say you're not going to come back to the drums for a few days, just remind yourself of what you're actually doing. You're finding and fixing mistakes. And if you are getting annoyed because you're actively doing what you're supposed to do, you're being too hard on yourself. And at the end of the day, the only time we ever improve is when we put ourselves in a position where we're trying to do something we're not currently able to do. Don't sit down on your drums and just do your ABCs over and over again. Put yourself in that position of learning. And then the third area I talked about, which is the confusion zone, is when you're trying to do something that you don't really understand. So you can't practice away mistakes if you don't know what right sounds like. So if you're playing something and you're like, I think that's right, I'm not sure, it's a little bit difficult to understand, that's when you need to draw back a little bit, maybe try it a little bit more simplified, because if you can't really understand it, then you can't really practice it. You could be heading in the wrong direction altogether with regard to what the beat's supposed to sound like. And really, if you have a teacher, you should go back to your teacher and say, hey, listen, I don't really understand the way that was explained to me. Could you explain it again? Maybe explain it differently? And one of the ways your teacher will explain it will make sense, and you'll get what I call the aha moment, when it just clicks in your head. Now, that does not mean you can do it. And this is something you have to keep reminding yourself. Just because it's clicked in your head, that doesn't mean you can do it. Understanding does not equal ability, okay? Just because you understand it doesn't mean your hands do. So you got to take it from your brain to your hands, and that journey from head to hands is practice. Guys, I hope this helps you. I hope this video finds someone and it makes sense to you. If it doesn't, I mean, then I'm just talking gibberish. And if that's the case, then like the effort that I put into making these, I'm really happy to put in that effort if this is useful to someone. And if it's not, then I'll stop talking gibberish. So guys, if it's helped anyone, please just tell me in the comment section what you thought of it. If it doesn't make any sense, feel free to ask me questions if you want to know more. Because as I said, this is just the way I teach, and when I come across something I feel like it makes sense and it might help someone, I want to put out a video for to explain it. But I just don't know if it translates very well in the medium of video or YouTube. So if you like what I'm doing, let me know. And if you have any comments or questions, please put them down below. I love interaction with you guys, and I will reply to any comments. And if you watched until now, thank you very much, and hopefully I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye.